farm animal rights movement as part of their 10 Billion Lives tour in an attempt to just inform people about what the living and dying conditions, frankly, look like for farm animals here in the United States.
Okay, and how long have you been doing this for?
So I've been an advocate for animals for the last 3.5, 4 years, pretty much since I adopted a plant-based diet, since I went vegan. I used to be a middle school teacher, and I did that for 9 years here in San Bernardino, not too far from here. And loved it, loved my job, felt I was doing really good by the animals, or I'm sorry, by the students, but I didn't feel like I was doing enough for the animals. So a year and a half ago, I quit my job and just looking for animal rights work. I was doing a lot of volunteering, but nothing paying, and then found this job working with Farm in May. I'm sorry, in April, was hired in April and started working in May. And I've been part of the 10 Billion Lives tour since the first week of June.
And what was your motivation to come here and be a part of the world and be a part of this?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. I don't really have a single answer for it. Initially, when I learned about veganism, when I learned about adopting a plant-based diet, it was all about how badly the animals were being treated, and I didn't want to be a part of that. I'm an animal lover, I'm an environmentalist, and it didn't make sense for me as an animal lover to be treating animals, paying other people money to treat animals this way. So initially, it was for me, it was the treatment of the animals.
You look at now and you're like, this is what I wanted to do when I was younger. And did what you wanted to do when younger pertain to what you're doing now?
A little bit. I think the first job that I said I wanted to do when I was a kid was to be a park ranger. I thought protecting the forest would be an endeavor worth doing. And what ended up happening was, and I think it's just protecting things and helping them. When I went to college, looking at my various career trajectories, what made the most sense at that time was education, was being a teacher. And I thought, okay, this is also helping people. This is making the world a better place. This is something I can do and get behind. So I think from very early on, I knew I wanted to protect. I wanted to help. I wanted to be an agent for change, a positive change on this planet, for this country, for the world. And I really strongly feel that this is an extension of that. My plant-based diet is all about moving in that direction and being as kind as I can to animals I'll never meet, to people who I won't see born, but I'm being mindful of how my decisions and my behavior will affect them either right now on my plate, or in the future for somebody who's going to end up being a climate refugee. And there's a lot of of course part of climate change is sea level rise, polar ice caps melting, sea level rise, and this is going to create a lot of refugees, and a lot of people are going to be very, very miserable. Frankly, a lot of people are going to die. I mean, hundreds of millions of people are going to die over the next 50 years because of this. I mean, we're seeing it now with large floods. We're seeing it now with superstorms, and it really is horrendous that all of this can be linked in some way, or influenced, I should say, not linked, influenced in some way by animal agriculture.
Okay, and did you get any kind of criticism as to where quitting your job and doing something you really love?
Yeah.
Was there any criticism involved with your family, and what held you back from? Did anything hold you back from wanting to come here?
Yeah. That's a great question. The only thing that held me back, I would say, was. To do this job, we live in a van. We got the equipment. They take up the back of the van, and there's just enough room for a twin-size mattress. We have a twin-size mattress in there. There's a fridge and a microwave. So it's got some living amenities. And when I told my family this, there's a lot of, you're doing what? Like, you're giving up teaching to do what? Like, do you think you'll go back to? That was like the number one question people ask me, in regards to this job is, do you think you'll go back to teaching? And I can understand, their concern is my future. My financial future, and I'm not concerned with that because animal rights jobs in general don't pay very well. This job certainly does not, but it's what I love. It's what I think is so important, and there's no place I would rather be than on college campuses, than talking to students, than encouraging people to really, ask themselves, does this line up with your values? And if not, what can you do to get your behavior in line with your values? So, I definitely had some pushback from my family. My parents were a bit trepidatious, but my sister, who's like my number one advocate, she was all about it. I think she knew that this would make me really happy, that I would really feel like I'm doing something meaningful and living a meaningful life doing something like this. So, there was a little bit of concern, but nothing major. And as for me, I've living in a van seems pretty spacious. I've lived in my car at times. Last summer I backpacked for 4.5 months the Pacific Crest Trail. So I spent 1,700 miles hiking by myself, living out of my pack. So I knew I could live meagerly. I knew I could. I don't need any frills to be happy and to be satiated. This job is a great way to kind of live to espouse to be the change I want to be in the world.
What kind of advice would you give to young students who are trying to find out their path in life and what they want to do? What would you give to them?
The advice I would give to them is just stay true to yourself. I loved teaching and it paid well, especially compared to this. But I think when it came time for me to switch jobs, when it came time for me to leave teaching and move towards being an animal activist, I really felt like I was living towards my values. I really felt like, okay, this is my spot. This is where I need to be. There's a lot of suffering going on in the world, and I can't affect a lot of it. But one thing I can do right now is I can have conversations with people about animal agriculture, about global warming, about the environmental impacts of animal agriculture. I'm not trying to get off topic, but I would just say, just be true to yourself. Do what makes you happy, and don't sacrifice getting paid well for something that ultimately isn't going to be something that brings you happiness. And it's a cliche, but life's too short to not do what you love. Steve Jobs had an amazing commencement address at Stanford, I think like in 2005. And he pretty much just said that, make great art, make great products, do great things, but above all, be happy, because the money's not worth it if you're not happy.